The South African Revenue Services has destroyed 20 million illegal cigarettes valued at $2.3 million. This is contraband from the period between February and May 2023. Seized during several operations, the illegal trade of cigarettes has robbed SARS in millions of revenue collections. We're now joined by Johnstone Makhubu, the Deputy Sars Commissioner for Taxpayer Engagement and Operations. Thank you very much, Mr. Makhubu, sir, for your time this afternoon. Given that this is nothing new and it's been happening for a while in the country, what do we need to understand about the proliferation of illegal cigarettes in South Africa? What fans the flame? What allows it to thrive so much?
Thank you very much for having us. We would know that there has been an impact in as far as the period where we had COVID-19, where there was a period where trading in legal tobacco cigarettes was banned for a period of time. We do believe that saw some proliferation of illicit tobacco in the environment, but also we know that generally uncoordinated approach in as far as dealing with illicit tobacco is an area that we need to collectively work together on. I think it's an area that we can improve on. So in summary, one would say that during COVID-19 we would have seen an increase in the proliferation of illicit trade in tobacco, but also I think there is more that can be done in terms of coordinating across all government agencies in as far as curbing the trade in illicit tobacco, including other trade in other illicit substances.
I wanted us to expand on the uncoordinated approach and what that means. You mentioned several government officials and yourselves talking to each other. Why have you not?
No, certainly we have started to coordinate amongst ourselves, and I think like any other part of the work that we do in government to efficiently and optimally ensure the coordination between ourselves is an area that we would be lying to ourselves if we say we're doing it, we've mastered it, and I think it's something that we continue to work on. I must be quite clear that I'm indicating that it's an area of improvement that we should be able to work through as law enforcement agencies. It's not SARS alone that can be able to successfully fight this scourge of trade in illicit tobacco. I think there is an understanding within the law enforcement agencies that we continue to work together to make sure that we improve this situation. I think are we where we should be? Not yet, but we are working hard to make sure that we've got coordinated efforts towards curbing the trade in illicit tobacco. I'm pretty much confident that we are starting to see progress in this regard. You made mentioning in your opening remark of seizures that we've made. Just as early as last week, we were able to seize around 2,000 master cases of tobacco in Beitbridge, and that was a coordinated effort amongst ourselves and other law enforcement agencies. So we are getting there, and we are confident that in time we will certainly create a dent, if not ultimately eliminate trade in illicit tobacco.
Fair enough. You mentioned Beitbridge. Is that a hotspot, or are there several other entry points that are giving you sleepless nights?
No, certainly. I think Beitbridge is largely the area that we have picked up. But again, illicit trade moves. But for now, we know that the hotspots, or where we've seen the number of seizures, at least if you measure it by the number of seizures, the highest number of seizures have been at our Beitbridge border post. But again, we continue to gather intelligence because we know that illicit trade moves and it's not always contained into one point, and therefore we are not at all convinced that it is a phenomenon that is bound to one port of entry. Therefore, our strategy is multi-port of entry in terms of curbing this behavior.
Okay. What makes tobacco illicit? Is it the health implications, or is it because it has not been declared and therefore the country is losing money?
It is, at least from a tax perspective, it becomes illicit because it is not traded openly and declared openly, and therefore all taxes and duties that it's supposed to attract are not paid to the state, and therefore robbing the fiscus of the much needed revenue that needs to accrue to the fiscus. So, at least from our perspective as SARS, as long as duties and taxes are not paid on any cigarette that is out in the market, we consider that as illicit, and we treat it as such. And if I may add, we have declared that as the South African Revenue Service, that we will continue to make it hard and costly for those that continue to want to remain non-compliant, and we will leave no stone unturned in terms of making sure that we bring some pain and suffering to those that continue to want to be non-compliant in this regard.
What happens with the contraband that you recently seized?
So we have got what we call controlled destruction of contraband that we receive. So recently, up in Beitbridge, we had an open process of destructing. We demonstrated how we actually do the destruction as a controlled destruction, but we've got dedicated facilities that, under control, we then destroy those contraband that we would have received. So what you would have seen in the news was one of those that we also invite the media to be able to come and experience it. But again, it's an ongoing activity because our view is that we want to make sure that we shorten the period between seizure and the destruction of such goods. Of course, where it is part of evidence, we would then follow the normal Criminal Procedures Act in terms of preservation of evidence.
Thank you very much to Johnstone Makhubu, the SARS Deputy Commissioner for Taxpayer Engagement. Thank you very much, sir, for your time.